my experience of wedding in Rajasthan, from where I came, I remember when I was a child, there was a sudden phone call during my mama's wedding. So the phone call said that the other person on the call that kal dulhe ghodi pe bithaya to hum maar denge. So Dalits are not allowed to sit on the horse. We just look at these weddings and love, romance uncritically, without knowing that obviously there is a beauty in these things, but there is also a lot of terror which is unexplored.
I'm Leeza Mangaldas, and this is Love Matters. And today we're going to be talking about marriage in India. While weddings are often glorified in pop culture and the public imagination as the ultimate grand romantic event, is marriage not in fact a system that simply upholds existing social hierarchies? Is there even any space for love amidst this, when arranged marriage remains the omnipresent way of going about things? Is love simply a delusion in an endogamous society? That's what we're going to be discussing with my guest, Anurag Minus Verma. After all, he has once said that same caste, different gotra remains the magic formula for love in this country. Anurag is the most incisive voice on caste, society, pop culture, and more. He has a cultish fan base, among which I count myself. And his unique voice comes through in his reels, his podcast, his writing. So Anurag, thanks so much for being here. And one of the things I love about your work is that not only does it hold a mirror to the injustices and the cruelties and the loneliness of life in society, but also to our sheer ridiculousness and absurdity. So I'm really looking forward to unpacking all of this with you. But I want to start with a question I'm sure you're tired of answering, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Why is your name Anurag Minus Verma? What's the story?
Thank you, Leeza, for this wonderful introduction. Story behind my name, Anurag Minus Verma. So my name is just Anurag. I mean, on the official documents, on passport, Aadhaar, everywhere, it's just Anurag. So there is no surname. But when I joined Facebook in 2011, so there was no option of putting that last name column empty. So out of just as a pun on the caste, I wrote it as Anurag Minus Verma, because some people in my family use Verma surname. So that I wrote in 2011, and people liked it, and I got 5-6 likes because of that, and I felt relevant. So I continued using that as a pseudonym for whatever I do now. And then it has a certain music to it as well, as opposed to Anurag, Anurag Minus Verma. So I'm continuing doing it. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. All right, let's dive right in to the murky waters we're going to be treading today. I want to just throw some stats out there. Only 5% of marriages in India can be counted as inter-caste. 93% of marriages are arranged. Dr. Ambedkar, in the inaugural edition of Muknayak, wrote that Hindu society is like a tower where each caste is allotted one floor. And the important thing to note in this is that there is no staircase in this tower. So the floor on which you are born is the floor on which you die. That was in 1920, over 100 years ago, but not much has changed.
Yeah, because especially, I mean, if we talk about love, then the whole idea of love is very complicated and complex. And there are many philosophers and the writer who try to understand the meaning of love. So the Proust has said a lot about love, and then there are, pop cultural song, What is Love, Baby Don't Hurt Me. And in India, people started creating these lyrics, Muhabbat Mirchi Sanam, Manish Kamina, and whatnot. So the idea of the love is very complex, and everybody's trying to understand what exact the love means. So in India, I always think love as a freelance activity. For example, if you are in the college, then there is a certain kind of a dreamy state, dreamy mindset in that madness of the youth. Your mindset is inspired by Pink Floyd and the Doors, and you listen to these songs, and you think of screwing the rules of the society and everything. And by the time you are in the final year of the college and you are about to go out in the real world or in the society, then your love which you have formed also evaporates. Or I have seen some of the best lovers who are like the idol for the new aspirant appearance of the romance, and they were considered as like they are the couple. But after the college got over, they had to separate because they have to get into the real world where the rules of the love and are different, because they have to present their love to their family as well. And then the family has 5,000 filters in their mind, and they have to judge whether that love is suitable for you or not. So in that scenario, sometime you also do that preemptive surgical strike on your romance in the college time, because you know what is going to happen when you move into the real world, which operates very differently. So these lovers then finally realize that this beautiful river of the love goes through the sewage of the society. So we have these filters like gotra, caste, subcaste, kundali, manglik, color, dari. So these things operates, and it's not just like even among the upper caste, it is very difficult to intermarry. So like one of my friend is very tensed these days, and his problem is that he comes from Baniya community, which is the upper caste community, and the girl is from Brahmin community, which is also upper caste community. And he secretly did a court marriage with her without letting the parents, because parents will be very violent, and they will be very angry when they come to know that their daughter has this inter-caste marriage. So this whole idea of the caste doesn't like necessarily is among upper and so-called upper and lower, but within a certain kind of community that is considered upper. So the marriage, in that sense, marriage and love are very tightly controlled by the norms of the society, and it remains like that even today.
Yeah, I mean, just building on some of these filters you mentioned, there were some studies of matrimonial entries in the newspapers and things. And, it was found that a groom with no education would be more likely to be contacted from a same caste bride than she would contact a man from a different caste with a master's degree, right? And then we were talking about color. I mean, this whole sentence just sounds so absurd, just me saying it. A man was willing to sacrifice 3 shades of skin tone to marry within his own caste. Yeah. And it is, when you just say this out loud, it sounds so ridiculous, and yet it is how 95% of the country is operating, right? And marriage is not even a choice, it's an inevitability. Yeah. You have to get married, and this is who you'll get married to. And what was also really interesting to me was that it's not the education level of the bride and the groom that was found to have a correlation with likelihood of being open to an intercaste union. It was the education level of the parents, and more specifically the education of the mother of the groom, that was an indicator of likelihood to be open to an intercaste relationship. A very educated mother of the boy was the only time you would see an openness to considering marrying outside of one's own caste. And I found that all very interesting, that because you see all these sort of woke young people who claim to be casteless, and what you were saying, that you preemptively end your love affairs in order to toe the line. And this is what's happening. So what do you make of some of this?
This whole idea of wokeness and everything, and that whole idea that I think, therefore I am, when you're saying in the Indian context, or I am free, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, I am a free individual. These ideas I sometimes find it comical when we are discussing it from the Indian society point of view, because these ideas work in a society which is more of an individual-based society, but our society is a community-based society. So we are not really free, and we can't be free from so many judgments of the people, and what our relative thinks about us, what our parents are planning for us, and everything happened within a particular kind of a community setup. So this is why these people who otherwise pretend to be very woke, very progressive and everything, but if you dig deeper and in their kind of a lifestyle, then you realize a certain kind of regressive, traditional kind of lifestyle they eventually follow.
this idea of a match made in heaven or whatever is a delusion, right? I mean, if we're looking at skin color, height, this, that, already that's bad enough. But the most dominant filter of all is caste. And so where is love in any of this, right? And also, why is it still this way? With all this wokeness, people claiming to be casteless, blah, blah, blah. Actually, we're marrying exactly how our great-grandparents, grandparents,
exactly like that. Exactly like that. And also, after applying 5,000 filter, we are left with 5-6 options, and we choose one option among them, and we call it love. So I was planning to write a book at one point of a time, which was titled "Love is basically lack of options." So we are given so little option, and we choose one partner from that, and that too after matching these kind of filters. And so that's why I'm quite surprised when people said that found my soulmate, match was made in heaven and something like that. No, it was not made in heaven. Like, it was like there was so many filters that were there. Financial aspect and everything, which I don't mind, because when you're marrying someone, then you have to think about a lot of things. It can't be a dreamy love thing, kind of a thing. Like in the Europe, that whole idea of romance started from that romanticism movement in 1800, 1850. So where they gave the priority to the feeling and the intuition and that whole idea of dreaminess of love, then the planning and everything. But right now, we are living in a capitalistic and consumeristic society. So we have to think through a lot of arrangement and everything while we are planning to live with someone. So that I understand that it can't be just like two people are. I mean, but the choices of choosing should be given to two individuals. That's the problem. But otherwise, I can understand they are looking at the financial stability of each other and everything, because then you have to manage your kharcha and rent and everything. So that you have to take into consideration.
Practical considerations for sure. But when you think about the history of marriage, I mean, even romanticism is relatively more recent. It was an economic arrangement, right? Primarily, you have cows, I have goats, etc., etc. And it was deeply oppressive to women, particularly, right? You're like property, basically, being traded between fathers and husbands.
Still like that.
Yeah. It is still like that. Exactly, it's still like that. And what I find really difficult to wrap my head around is that on the one hand, there's people who are so denied agency by their families that they are aware that this is an oppressive situation, but they have no way out. Okay, so it's like, now what do I do? They're not deluding themselves into believing they have agency and this is great. It's like, unfortunately, it's at too great a cost for me to kind of resist this, right? I might risk my life, I might risk my livelihood, whatever. And so now this is what I'm faced with. But I think what's really difficult for me to wrap my head around is I see a lot of people, and this tends to be these woke liberal people, who are like, oh, but this is wonderful, now my husband and I both keep Karwa Chauth. Or like, Priyanka Chopra now is the brand ambassador for Bulgari's Mangal Sutra. And she goes, today a bride can smash the patriarchy by buying a Bulgari Mangal Sutra. And for me, it's like, how are you're so buying into this delusion where you don't even seem to see it. You're repackaging the patriarchy and the casteism and all of these things that you claim to be, hell-bent on advocating against in your Instagram activism or whatever. And suddenly it's more palatable for you or something. It's just very difficult. The dissonance around that is difficult for me to wrap my head around.
Basically, that if in the consumer culture, that is also kind of a guilt of, inside inside your psyche that that whatever this you're doing is not correct. It is not something which is progressive.
Do they know that though?
Some people, I think, have that sense what is wrong and what is right. I think so. At least I believe.
I hope so.
Like internally they have, but there are so many layers around them, societal layers, that they have to navigate through it. So in the consumeristic society, there is a guilt of consumption. So that whole idea of how to bring in the ethical idea into it. So that's why you see these, like, you will not do the Mangal Sutra. Main Mangal Sutra pehnaunga. Like, I'll keep the fast for Karwa Chauth. You don't have to keep the fast for Karwa Chauth. So that guilt is somehow compensated through these kind of action. It's like you're going to a Starbucks, like it's a Zizek's very famous thing, that you go to a Starbucks and you are worried that whatever I'm consuming is unethical, because maybe these beans are sourced from some farmers in the Africa who were tortured while making it. So they said, no, these are ethically sourced bean, and the price of ethicalness is also included in that coffee. So now it's like the $4 coffee, $6 coffee if you want the ethical coffee. So that is combined within that whole package. So similarly in this situation also, you look some ways to get out of that kind of a guilt. But at the end, this is all very performative things. For example, recently I saw, if we talk about big fat weddings that happens in India, so a couple reconstructed a scene from Jodha Akbar film. So it was a lavish wedding and everything. They reconstructed the whole scene, how the Jodha will come, how the Akbar will come, and the elephants and everything. It was a very expensive wedding that was obviously made for Instagram and for that engagement and everything. But if you look in the real, if they wanted to create the Jodha Akbar scene, then it should have been between a Hindu and Muslim. But can you do that in the contemporary setting? It would be called as love jihad and whatnot. So you are just picking up some elements of it and not going to the root issue. And obviously there is, as you said, that one of the problem is that where will you go if your parents are not allowing it? So that's a problem. Even I don't know the answer to it, because although I also think that you have to like the pop culture and everything teaches all about the family, whatever they are saying is correct and everything. But I think you have to negotiate and also rebel and try your best to make them understand certain things. But although it's very difficult, because they are most of the parents are very rigid in their viewpoints, but it's your duty to change the things to how much possible it can be for you, at least. So if you are not doing it and we are just subservient to the wisdom of the old people, then we are going to, the next generation will be also like that, which is the thing. Even we think a lot about these modern technologies, like there are dating apps, there are AI and everything, and then we think that we are progressing because there are apps and everything. But the technology of anything also represents the society. Both things are connected. So it's not like the technology will build a world which is very different island than how our society functions. So yeah, these things are somehow connected. So this is the reason why I don't think dating app are some kind of a revolution or something, or they are changing the habit of romance or habit of marriage in India. I think same kind of people with same kind of biases will also come on the dating app. So last day I was watching a story of one of my friend. So she posted some of the screenshots. The guy, so there is a question on some app like, you shouldn't date me if. Then he wrote, if you are having a belly fat. You may think that it's a expensive app and everything, is a premium member and everything, but his thinking is same. How it is in the real life. So that's why the technological progression should also be understood a little more closely, that are they something new or something different.
I do want to just sort of harp on this point a bit longer of not only do existing biases continue to be perpetuated, what I find very insidious is that they're being repackaged as benign, as some, it's preference. These are my preferences. I'm not casteist. I'm not colorist. These are just my preferences. I can't control who I'm attracted to, Or, no, of course, I would be open to anyone. But look at us. In India, your social group, your school, your college, your job, your da-da-da, the people in your sphere of interaction are typically extremely homogenous. Yeah. So there's already a chalni that has done its work before you're even thinking about who you can be friends with. Your available pool is already filtered, right?
I think it's very good to be aware of your own biases, your own thought process, why it is shaped up like that, and then maybe you can free from that biases. So the choices you are making may be a little more real, a little more you, a little more personal. But at the moment, we also don't realize that most of these choices are made because of the conditioning provided to us through the society or our surrounding or by our parents. So how to break free from it and then choose whoever you want to choose. So that whole idea is very necessary in this angle. So which is missing. So the main point is this, that you become aware first, and you become aware of these whole biases, and then you choose whoever you want to choose. But at the moment, you are just becoming a clone of your own surroundings, and it's not just about changing society or anything. It's just not fun, to be very honest, just mingling in people who are like you or around you. I think as a human being, you have to explore more and whatever you have. So which is missing, because we are extremely segregated people. There is also community, obviously, but there is also an extreme form of segregation, and nobody is allowed to jump into other part. So that is there. I mean, attraction and everything can happen, obviously. So this is why on dating apps, you can get attracted to anybody, and dating mostly are for short-term things, or these are not the long-term things. And so people get attracted and meet each other, which is very different from how Shadi.com or these kind of app works. So that's why I say that Shadi.com is basically Tinder with Gangajal. There is a sanskari thing attached to that.
Also, we have a value judgment in how we're socially conditioned to see which type of relationship is legitimate and valuable. So somehow a short-term or casual or just physical relationship is, not in the sort of upper echelons of respectability or legitimacy or importance in how we see relationships, right? So this idea, and unfortunately, with when women are socialized to see how they should navigate sexuality and romance, there's this value on your inexperience, right? There's this value on your purity, innocence, chastity, etc., as if you must save yourself for this one person. That's the messaging you get. Otherwise, you're a slut or whatever, right? So there's that. Then there's this idea, anyway, for all genders also, that casual and temporary and physical is somehow niche, and shadi and permanent is, and love is, so even if we're willing to be more experimental in the temporary or more informal sort of aspects of our romantic lives, isn't there an inbuilt hierarchy that is a bit dehumanizing? I mean, personally, I don't think that temporary is less valuable. I mean, I don't ever want to get married. So, my temporary or casual or whatever, I think even a one-night stand can be quite a valuable event if it is as such. It can also be whatever, forgettable, whatever. But I don't think time and permanence is, in my books at least, how I attribute value to the people in my life. But society does, right? And many people are kind of navigating that world where they'll be like, some people you're okay to hook up with, but this is not, I would never introduce my parents. I would never. Isn't that like...
So that's why I said it's still considered as a sinful activity deep in your psyche. And or in the beginning I said that we love someone, that you have to present that love to your family and parents. So similar things, these things are considered as time pass kind of a thing by most of the people, or it's just another form of entertainment in this whole neoliberal world kind of a thing. So there is no seriousness like attached to it as compared to a seriousness that like घर वाले कुछ आपके लिए कुछ ढूंढ रहे हैं, लड़का या लड़की. That kind of a seriousness is considered as a very pure thing, and obviously the purity, virginity, the whole caste system thrives on the purity of the women. Like the women has to be pure, and they like other people can't mingle. So that the whole basis of the whole caste system. And as you said rightly, the gender thing is there. Unfortunately, this is all the psyche of male, that they don't take women who are on the app very seriously. They think, I mean, they will do it for the hookup or whatever, but they think whatever their parents or their mother will choose is more pure, and that biases, as I said earlier, are there, and they are not going away just because we have moved forward in terms of technology. Those biases are there.
Yeah, interesting you said the boy's mother, because remember I was saying the education level of the boy's mother tends to be quite instrumental in how diverse his choices of bride are. But let's talk a little bit about how pop culture represents marriage, especially mainstream Bollywood. What's your take on sort of, do you think it glosses over far too much? Do you think we've seen some more sort of accurate portrayals more recently? I mean, I don't want to say, I want to let you talk about.
Okay, so I think this whole idea of big fat Indian wedding started from that film, Hum Aapke Hain Kaun? I think 1991 or something, if I'm not wrong. So after that, these weddings got expensive and costlier, and then obviously whole brand of pop cultural thing, Dilwale Dulhaniya and whatnot, the whole cinema. So that cinema inspired people, because wedding now became a part of living a Bollywood reality, or like the arranged marriage meetings are auditions, and then you finally have that dream of living like a star for 1 day or 2 days. So these are designed like that to make you feel like a Bollywood star, so that music are also inspired from the Bollywood and everything. So everything is like that, and obviously then you put it, now it became Instagrammable. Your wedding has to be like that because of the celebrity weddings, and we see. So the wedding that we see in the pop culture produces an aspirational idea of what we want to do. Sometime even in the society, these expensive wedding provides an aspirational idea, and if you're not doing it, then you are somehow failing at it. So that is a very sad situation, because I once saw my driver uncle crying in front of me because he can't arrange the money for this big tent and big marriage garden, and he said, "Meri society mein kya ijjat reh jayegi, main itne saal tak kar raha hu." So that competitiveness is something which is very sad. So that is one aspect of it. All the wedding, to be honest, my experience of wedding in Rajasthan, from where I came, it comes from the state of anxiety, to be very honest, because I remember when I was a child, there was a sudden phone call during my mama's wedding, which is my brother of my mother. So the phone call said that the other person to call, that kal dulhe ko ghodi pe bithaya to hum maar denge. So Dalits are not allowed to sit on the horse. So that thing have happened at that time. So in the night the police came and everything, and in the morning was the wedding, and that whole ceremony. Then there was a tense situation that something can go wrong. So that even that day, which is considered as a cutie day for most of the people, like a beautiful day, that is fraught with so many kind of danger and anxiety. So this also happens, like in Rajasthan, these kind of situations are very common during the wedding, like in the Dalit wedding, that there can be a chances of some miscreants who are going to disrupt it through violence or something. So wedding is some, I associated a little bit with that, but also with another aspect which I realized recently when I attended so many weddings of my family, that for women it becomes an idea of a release, because our society is so traditional, and women are not given chances to express themselves. Women of the family, I'm saying, when the wedding function and everything happened, so my family, the women of my family became very excited when the wedding happened. Said they dance, they express themselves, and for them it's a celebration. And the other kind of days are obviously very mundane and boring, but that whole wedding function becomes, for them, it gives a meaning to their life. That
the
function,
attendees.
yeah, the attendees, the relatives, and everything. So when I see them happy, then I said, okay, there is another point of view. So one of the very interesting image of my growing up is that I saw a DJ at my village, which was playing a song called Papi 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 Chulo, and there were 50 women dancing on it. so 50 women with gunga dancing on it. So I said, okay, that's I understand that it is for them. It's like Tomorrowland or something. So like a rave. We just look at these weddings and love, romance uncritically, without knowing that obviously there is a beauty in these things, but there is also a lot of terror which is unexplored.
Speaking of love, I read in an article you'd written, I loved what you wrote, of how, the true ambassadors of New India are its young lovers. And if we can retain and hold on to that spirit of believing in love and going after it despite the potential threats and dangers that come with it, like those are the true agents of change.
Yeah.
And they deserve our support. Like if the nation should not fail these lovers.
Yeah.
So do you see love as a very powerful and transgressive force? And should we sort of wrap things up on this?
Love is obviously a very radical thing in India to do, because when you're loving someone out of your choice, then you are bypassing so much of social structure, and so the entire act of being in love is through a political lens is a very radical thing. So why I wrote this article was because of an incident that happened, that a girl married without letting her parents know, to a Dalit person, and then they were angry. They were after her life and everything. So she was hiding somewhere and making these kind of videos on I think that Facebook was there. She was making videos and telling the society that I'm in love with him and I just want to be with him. And so that kind of thing fascinated me because of her courage to stood up to what she believed, and also terrified me to know that what is going to happen. So there was, in that video, there are both the things which I said in the beginning. So there is a beautiful trance-like aspect in the love when two people are in love, but at the same time there is an ultimate terror in the idea of love, which was there because their life was in danger. So that is the crux of the whole argument that I presented. So these both things are existing together. So it's not like the Urdu kind of Urdu shairi or these ghazal ki duniya kisi ke pyar mein jannat se kam nahi. So there is a jannat in the love, but there is a hell which is also waiting for you. So these both things we have to be more honest of analyzing it. So that's why I said that government should protect lovers because they were in the danger and they should protect them, give them legal assistance and everything, which is sadly not happening because if you look at these vigilante attacks on Valentine's Day, there are groups, who attack lovers. One time I was also about to get attacked in 2010 in Jaipur. So that happened. I was sitting in a cafe and suddenly I hear a loud sound of somebody breaking the glasses. So then I saw that somebody was throwing stones. And then I was with a female friend and we walked and I saw the trails of blood on the floor. So apparently the manager's hand got injured. So the blood was flowing. Then outside there was these dals who were, wearing these things and shouting that Sharam Karo, Sanskriti, these things they were shouting at me, and so yeah, I moved. But the problem is that these dals are also created out of the perverse desire of the society. So they also like them secretly, disturbing the lovers, and these dals are seen as, like, for them it's like Batman for the society who is fighting the real cause. So that's what I'm saying, that we have to build some kind of mechanism to protect lovers, protect people who wants to love each other, wants to be together each other, and there should be no such kind of pressure from the outside. But I don't know when it is going to happen, but at least we can talk about it. Yeah,
a girl can dream. Thank you so much, Anurag. Such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for joining us on Love Matters. And thank you to everyone who tuned in. You can find all of Anurag's social platforms and his podcast in the show notes. You absolutely must check out everything if you haven't already. Just like spend the next 10 hours consuming Anurag's work. It is so well worth it. If you'd like to write into us, you can email us at lovematters@dw.com. Love Matters is produced by Indian Express and DW, Germany's international broadcaster. We would love it if you rated and reviewed this podcast wherever you're listening or watching it, and do share it with your friends and family. Thank you again. And for now, this is Leeza signing off. I believe that love matters.